Outside the window, a pure white snow scene greets the eye. The winter mornings in Alaska always begin with silence. I'm Jessica Miller. Even at 62, I haven't changed my habit of waking up at 5 a.m. every day. Standing in the kitchen, brewing a warm cup of coffee, I gaze out the window at the view of Miller's orchard spread before me. I'm reminded of over 40 years ago when my husband Robert and I started this orchard. In this small town near Fairbanks, everyone said, "It's too cold for anything to grow." But we didn't give up. After much trial and error, we found apple varieties that could withstand the cold and even succeeded in growing berries. Now, our orchard has become a fixture at the local farmers market, and in summer, it's bustling with tourists. It makes me so happy when everyone tells me how exceptionally sweet our fruit is after surviving the harsh winter. As I'm preparing breakfast, I hear footsteps coming down the stairs. "Good morning, Grandma," comes a cheerful voice. It's my granddaughter Emily. "Good morning, Emily. Did you sleep well?" "Yes. I have something exciting at school today." Emily, 8 years old, is the only daughter of my son Michael and his wife Sarah. They all live together with us in the big house on the orchard. A little while later, my husband Robert comes down. "Good morning, Jess," he smiles at me gently. Even at 65, his smile hasn't changed from 40 years ago. "It's delivery day today, isn't it?" I say. "Yes, I'm heading to Fairbanks Co-op." "I should be back by evening," Robert replies. After breakfast, once Emily has left for school, I put on my rubber boots and head out to the orchard. It's my daily routine to check on the apple trees in the snow. During winter, the trees are dormant, but we can't neglect preparations for spring. Around noon, my son Michael comes to the office. "Mom, I've finished this year's financial report," he says, looking a bit tired. "Thank you, Michael. You're always working so hard." "Yes," he answers vaguely. I've been worried about Michael lately. His relationship with his wife Sarah doesn't seem as good as it used to be. In the afternoon, I attend a gathering of the gardening club at the local community center. "Jessica, you'll teach us how to make apple jam again this year, won't you?" my longtime friend Mary asks me. "Of course. Let's all have fun making it together," I reply, feeling the importance of our community connections. In the evening, we all go to Emily's school event, a winter music concert. Seeing my 8-year-old granddaughter on stage warms my heart. However, I sense a subtle tension between Michael and Sarah sitting next to me, which worries me a little. On the way home, Robert praises Emily. "That was a wonderful performance." We all laugh together, enjoying this simple moment of happiness. But somehow, a small worry lingers in the back of my mind. Will these peaceful days continue? Several weeks have passed since that music concert, and the Alaskan winter has grown even harsher. As I drink my morning coffee and look outside, I see the snow falling heavily. The thermometer reads 10 degrees Fahrenheit. "It's particularly cold today," I mutter to myself while gazing at the orchard through the kitchen window. The snow-covered trees stand silently, as if wrapped in a white blanket. Despite the severe cold, today is my day to pick up Emily from after-school care. I had promised to pick her up at 4 p.m. from the YMCA winter break program. "Robert, I'll be picking up Emily today," I call out to my husband. "Oh, that's right. Be careful out there," Robert answers. He seems to be organizing some documents in his study. Looking at the clock, I see it's already past 3 p.m. I should get ready, I think to myself, putting on my coat and grabbing the car keys. As I step outside, the cold wind stings my cheeks. I quickly get into the car and try to start the engine. However, when I turn the key, nothing happens. That's odd. I think, trying a few more times, but there's no response. Feeling uneasy, I get out of the car and call out to Robert. "Robert, it seems the car battery might be dead." He looks a bit surprised and says, "That happens often on days this cold. It's an old car, after all." "But I need to pick up Emily," I say, feeling anxious. Robert offers, "Should I go instead?" "No, it's all right. Don't you have an appointment to get your watch repaired today?" I remind him. Robert is a collector of old pocket watches and had mentioned going to the town watchmaker today. "Oh, that's right. I completely forgot," Robert says, lightly tapping his forehead. "But if Jess's car isn't working, I'll borrow Michael's car," I suggest. "My son is working from home today." I go back inside and knock on Michael's door upstairs. "Michael, do you have a moment?" "What is it, Mom?" Michael pokes his head out. "The car battery is dead. Can I borrow your car to pick up Emily?" Michael seems to think for a moment. "Ah, I see. Sure, go ahead," he says, handing me his car keys. "Thank you. I'll be back soon," I say as I head down the stairs. When I return to the entrance, Robert is still there. "Everything okay?" he asks. "Yes, I'm going to use Michael's car," I answer. For a moment, I thought I saw Robert's expression cloud over. Was it my imagination? "I see. Be careful out there," Robert says. I get into Michael's car and start the engine. It starts up fine, and I feel relieved. I see Robert's figure in the rearview mirror as I drive off. The trip to the YMCA usually takes about 20 minutes. However, with the heavy snow and poor visibility today, I need to drive carefully. On the way, I feel like the car isn't handling as well as usual. Is it just my imagination? I wonder, but an uneasy feeling creeps into my chest. When I arrive at the YMCA, Emily is waving energetically from inside the building. I get her into the car, check her seatbelt, and we set off. "Grandma, guess what? I made a snowman today." Emily starts excitedly. "Oh, did you have fun?" I reply, but in my heart, an indescribable anxiety is growing. Robert's behavior, the condition of Michael's car, and today's unusually cold weather. I can't shake the feeling that something is off. As we head home, I take a deep breath. I hope this ominous feeling is just me being overly worried. With that wish, I slowly drive on. About 15 minutes after leaving the YMCA, we reach the road along the Yukon River. The snow is still falling heavily, and even with the wipers at full speed, it's hard to see clearly ahead. The white world spreading out on both sides is beautiful, but in our current situation, it feels a bit eerie. "Emily, are you cold?" I call out to my granddaughter in the back seat. "I'm okay, Grandma. But you know." Emily's voice sounds a bit clouded. "What is it?" "Grandma, this car feels strange." Emily's words make my heart skip a beat. The truth is, I've been feeling something off since we left. The steering wheel vibration seems stronger than usual, and the engine sound oddly irregular. "Strange how?" I ask, trying to stay as calm as possible. "There's a clunking sound. Daddy's car doesn't usually make that noise." Hearing Emily's words, my unease turns into certainty. Something is wrong. It might be dangerous to continue driving like this. Just then, I spot a small parking area ahead. It's a viewpoint for the Yukon River. Usually, it would be crowded with tourists, but on a day with such bad weather, no one is there. "Emily, we're going to take a little break," I say as I pull into the parking space. When I turn off the engine, silence envelopes the car. Outside, the snow is still falling heavily, but from inside the car, it looks like soft cotton fluff drifting down. I take a deep breath and try to clear my head. I've decided it's too dangerous to continue driving. But walking home in this snow is impossible too. "Emily, Grandma is going to call a taxi. Can you wait a little longer?" "Okay, I understand," Emily nods obediently. I take out my smartphone and call the local taxi company, Fairbanks Cab. Fortunately, they say they can pick us up in about 30 minutes. A taxi will be here soon. Until then, let's chat, shall we? I say to Emily. "Yeah. Hey Grandma, today at the YMCA." As I listen to Emily's story, various thoughts run through my mind. Why is Michael's car in this condition? Is it just a coincidence, or? 30 minutes later, I see the taxi's headlights. The driver gets out and checks the situation. "Ma'am, it's dangerous to keep going like this. You did the right thing by stopping and calling us." Hearing those words, I felt a chill run down my spine. If Emily hadn't noticed. As we get into the taxi, I look back at Michael's car. Tomorrow, I need to have it properly inspected. And I need to talk to my family. "Emily, you did well to notice." "Thank you," I gently pat my granddaughter's head. As the taxi starts moving, my heart is filled with deep anxiety and fear of the truth that awaits us. When the taxi stopped in front of our house, the day was already beginning to fade. The snow had finally let up, and the warm light leaking from the house windows reflected beautifully on the snow-covered ground. "Emily, we're here," I call out, and my granddaughter nods, rubbing her sleepy eyes. After paying the taxi driver and thanking him, we get out. Suddenly, the door flies open and Robert rushes out. Jessica. Emily. His voice is clearly agitated. Robert's expression changes from surprise to confusion, and for just a moment, disappointment. It seemed to flash across his face. "How are you safe?" a whisper escapes from Robert's lips. Those words sent a chill down my spine. Something is decidedly wrong. "Robert, what do you mean?" I ask, trying to maintain my composure. "Oh, no. I was just worried." With this terrible weather, he hurriedly tries to cover up, but his eyes remain fixed on us. "Emily, go inside. You must be cold," I urge my granddaughter into the house. Once Emily is inside, I turn back to Robert. "About the car, we need to have it checked properly tomorrow. It started acting up on the way." "I see." Robert's reaction feels oddly detached. As we enter the house, Michael comes down the stairs. "Mom, Emily, you made it back safely." His voice seems to mix relief and anxiety. "Yes, but is your car all right? It started acting strange on the way." "Oh, that. I haven't had it checked recently," Michael answers, averting his eyes. "That night, I couldn't sleep." Robert's reaction, Michael's attitude, and the condition of the car. Everything felt unnatural, as if some big secret was being hidden. Past midnight, as I was heading to the kitchen feeling thirsty, I heard small voices leaking from the study. It failed. Why didn't those brakes work? It's Robert's voice. I don't know. I was sure I had disabled them. This time it's Michael's voice. The voice of my son. Next time, we need a more foolproof method. "But Dad, is this really okay?" "Mom and Emily." "Shut up. You have debts too, don't you?" The orchard's financial troubles are serious. If we can just get the insurance money, everything will work out. I held my breath. I couldn't believe my ears. But the conversation I heard was clear. My husband and son were trying to take my life and Emily's. My legs felt weak, and I leaned against the wall. My mind went blank. I can't believe it. I don't want to believe it. But this is reality. Quietly, I returned to my room and closed the door. Tears streamed down my cheeks. My husband of over 40 years, the son I gave birth to. These two were trying to take our lives. Why? The orchard's financial troubles. Debts. I can't even imagine how bad the situation must be. But even so, to try to kill family members. Emily's innocent 8-year-old sleeping face comes to mind. I must protect her. But how? Should I go to the police? But there's no evidence. Would I have to report my own family? As the morning sun begins to shine through the window, I finally make up my mind. First, gather evidence. And ensure Emily's safety. Love for my family and the sadness of betrayal. The fear of protecting myself and the determination to protect Emily. Conflicting emotions clash in my chest. I close my eyes and take a deep breath. The road ahead will be tough. but I must reveal the truth and do what's right. With the morning sun, I quietly get up from bed with a new resolve. From that night until the next morning, I stayed awake gathering evidence. A recording device hidden in Robert's pocket watch, the history on Michael's computer, and Sarah's unnatural behavior. Everything confirmed my worst fears. First thing in the morning, I headed to the local Fairbanks police station. As I entered the station, my hands were shaking with nervousness. "How can I help you?" the receptionist officer asked. "I think my family is trying to take my life. I have evidence." Hearing these words, the officer showed a surprised expression. Immediately, a detective who seemed to be a veteran was called, and I was guided to a separate room. "Mrs. Miller, please calm down and tell me everything from the beginning, in order." Taking a deep breath, I started to tell everything. The conversation between my husband and son, the unnatural car breakdown, and the evidence I had gathered. "The car I left by the Yukon River is urgent," I emphasized. "The perpetrators might try to destroy the evidence." The detective understood the gravity of my words and immediately gave instructions to his subordinates. "Head to the scene right away and secure the car. Evidence preservation is the top priority." A few hours later, I received a call from the police. "We've successfully secured the car." As expected, the brakes had been deliberately cut. Hearing this report, the last hope in me vanished. I felt like I was being confronted with the reality of the situation once again. After that, the police investigation progressed rapidly. Emily and I took refuge in a safe place and fully cooperated with the investigation. A few days later, the whole picture became clear. At the police station, I received a detailed report from the detective in charge. "Mrs. Miller, I'm going to share the results of our investigation." The detective's expression was stern, but also showed a hint of sympathy. "Yes." My voice was trembling. The brakes of the secured car were indeed deliberately cut. It seems to have been a meticulous plan to stage an accident on the snowy road. I held my breath at those words. Furthermore, we found evidence of conspiracy between your husband, Mr. Robert, and your son, Mr. Michael. There were email exchanges between the two and suspicious movements in their bank accounts. The detective paused for a moment, gauging my reaction. I nodded for him to continue. "Regarding the motive, it seems the orchard's management was in a dire situation. Harvest yields had drastically decreased due to abnormal weather in recent years, leading to substantial debt. Moreover, Mr. Michael had separate debts as well." I had no idea about any of this," I said. "Yes. And it seems they had their eyes on your and your granddaughter's high-value life insurance policies. They probably thought all their problems would be solved if they could get the insurance money." I couldn't hold back my tears. I had worked so hard for my family. Why didn't they come to me for help? And the detective hesitates a bit before continuing. "We've discovered that Mr. Michael's wife, Mrs. Sarah, was also aware of this plan." "Sarah too." My heart was completely shattered. Mrs. Sarah wasn't directly involved, but she knew about the plan and didn't stop it. Rather, it seems she was in agreement with it. After hearing everything, I let out a deep sigh. What happens now? Mr. Robert and Mr. Michael will be arrested for attempted murder and attempted insurance fraud. Mrs. Sarah will likely be questioned on suspicion of conspiracy. Reality weighs heavily on me. The betrayal by my family, the orchard's crisis, and our future life. However, remembering Emily's smile, I renewed my determination. I vowed in my heart to overcome this ordeal and build a new life. Following the police investigation results, the prosecution swiftly moved to press charges. When the trial began, local media reported extensively, throwing our small town into turmoil. When I first faced Robert, Michael, and Sarah in court, my heart was filled with complex emotions. Those who were once my beloved family now sat in the defendant's box. The trial lasted for several weeks, and I took the witness stand. While speaking, I kept Emily's face in my mind, mustering all my courage. On the day of the final arguments, the prosecutor demanded severe sentences. The defense pleaded for leniency, but the evidence was clear. On the day of the verdict, the judge sentenced Robert to 15 years and Michael to 10 years in prison. Sarah received a 2-year suspended sentence. After the sentencing, Robert looked at me and said in a faint voice, "Jessica, I'm truly sorry. I was so caught up in the business." Michael also apologized tearfully, "Mom, the debts kept piling up, and I didn't know what to do." However, their words didn't reach my heart. As I was leaving the courthouse, Emily squeezed my hand and said, "Grandma, let's do our best together. Everyone loves your apple jam." Those words brought tears to my eyes that I couldn't hold back. When we returned home, I had to face the orchard's debts and management issues. As I was at a loss, our neighbor Martha introduced me to the Alaska Legal Services Corporation. "They'll surely help you. If you explain your situation, you should be able to get appropriate advice," Martha said. Encouraged by Martha's words, I contacted the Alaska Legal Services Corporation the next day. Speaking with a lawyer who listened attentively to my story, I felt a glimmer of hope. "Mrs. Miller, let's start by proceeding with the divorce and removing Michael from the orchard's management," the lawyer suggested. Hearing those words, I let out a deep breath. Divorcing my husband of over 40 years. Parting ways with my son. While my heart felt constricted, I knew I had to move forward, for Emily's sake and my own. "I understand. Please proceed," I answered. The following months were filled with legal procedures. However, unexpected support also came our way. The local community rallied to help rebuild the orchard. "Jessica, if there's anything we can do, just let us know," my longtime friend Mary said. She was the president of the local gardening club and gathered many volunteers. One morning, when I arrived at the orchard, more than 20 people from the community had gathered. Everyone was holding shovels and buckets, ready to help. "Everyone, thank you." I choked up with emotion. From that day on, the orchard began to transform little by little. With the help of the community, we pruned old trees and planted new saplings. An organic farming expert gave us advice on soil improvement, and students from the local university's agriculture department came to help as part of their research. Emily also eagerly helped out. "Grandma, this apple tree will surely grow big by the time I'm grown up," she said, looking at a sapling with hope-filled eyes. Legal issues were also gradually resolved. With the help of the Alaska Legal Services Corporation, we proceeded with the divorce from Robert and completely removed Michael from the orchard's management. However, many challenges still remained. Repaying debts, finding new distribution channels, and above all, securing Emily's future. But there was no turning back now. "Emily, you know what? Grandma has a new idea," I said to my granddaughter one day. "I'm thinking of starting an agritourism business at our orchard. How about apple picking and jam making experiences?" Emily's eyes lit up. "Wow, that's amazing. I want to be in charge of explaining about apples to the customers." Hearing those words, I could smile from the bottom of my heart. For this child, I can overcome any difficulty. I was sure of it. Rebuilding the orchard wasn't an easy journey. There were times when I felt like giving up. But Emily's smile and the support from the community became my emotional pillars. And slowly but surely, Miller's Orchard was reborn into a new form. 5 years have passed since then. Miller's Orchard has changed beyond recognition. Today, the Fairbanks Farmers Market is bustling as usual. "Jessica, the taste of this year's apple pie is exceptional," a regular customer calls out with a smile. Emily, now 13 years old, is enthusiastically explaining apple varieties to tourists. Her bright smile seems to heal the hearts of visitors. The other day, Michael, who was recently released on parole, visited the orchard. At first, I was hesitant, but after hearing his sincere apology and determination to rehabilitate, we've begun to walk the path of reconciliation little by little. I received a letter from Robert saying he's participating in gardening therapy in prison. He wrote that he wants to work in the orchard after his release. That decision is still difficult for me, but I don't intend to completely close the door. Life is full of unexpected turns. But surrounded by the people we love and this beautiful orchard, we are surely grasping happiness.